Robin Williams' wife was 8 months pregnant when John Belushi died. Williams had been high on cocaine almost every day for years, 6 shows a week, barely eating, barely sleeping, just cocaine and stage lights and the constant need to perform. And then his best friend overdosed in a hotel room Williams had left just hours earlier. At the funeral, Belushi's 7-year-old nephew held up a sign, "Uncle Robin, please don't die too." Williams looked at that sign, then he looked at his pregnant wife standing next to him. And he made a choice. No rehab, no intervention, no gradual tapering. He went cold turkey that same day. What happened next, the withdrawal, the terror, the fight to stay clean while becoming a father, almost broke him. But it also saved him, and gave the world 32 more years of Robin Williams. March 5, 1982, 3:17 a.m., Chateau Marmont Hotel, Hollywood. Bungalow. 3. Robin Williams walked out of John Belushi's room, his heart racing from the cocaine they'd been doing for hours, his mind buzzing, his hands shaking. The party was still going inside. Music, laughter, more drugs being passed around. But Robin had to leave. He had a show in the morning, 6 shows a week, always another show, always another stage, always another line of cocaine to get him there. "Later, man," Robin said to Belushi, who was sprawled on the couch, sweating, looking worse than usual. Belushi waved him off with a lazy hand. Yeah, get out of here, you manic bastard, go make people laugh." Robin left, drove home high, crashed for 3 hours, woke up to his phone ringing. John Belushi was dead, overdose, cocaine and heroin, speedball. His heart just stopped. He was 33 years old. Robin Williams sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the wall, the phone still in his hand. His wife Valerie came into the room, 8 months pregnant, her belly huge, her face worried. "Robin? What's wrong?" "Belushi's dead." The words didn't sound real. They didn't make sense. Robin had just seen him, just left him a few hours ago. They'd been laughing, doing drugs, planning their next project together, and now he was dead. Just gone. Like turning off a switch. But here's what Robin couldn't say out loud. Here's what he couldn't tell Valerie, couldn't tell the police when they called to ask about that night, couldn't tell anyone. Robin Williams knew he should be dead too. He'd been doing cocaine for years, not recreational use, not party drugs. This was survival cocaine, performance cocaine. The kind you need just to get through the day because you've rewired your brain to require it. 6 shows a week at comedy clubs, television appearances, Mork and Mindy filming. He was everywhere, all the time, and cocaine was the only thing keeping him upright. He'd wake up exhausted, do a line, perform, do another line, drive to the next show, another line, come home at 2 a.m. wired and paranoid, try to sleep, fail, do another line, just to take the edge off, wake up 4 hours later and start again. His weight had dropped to 140 pounds. He wasn't eating real meals anymore, just cocaine and coffee and adrenaline. His hands shook constantly. His heart would skip beats. He'd get chest pains in the middle of shows and just push through them because stopping meant facing what he was doing to himself. And Belushi? Belushi was his partner in all of it. They'd met on the set of a charity show in the late 70s and immediately recognized each other. 2 manic comedians, 2 guys who couldn't turn off their brains, 2 addicts using humor to hide from pain and drugs to hide from themselves. They'd party together after shows, do cocaine until sunrise, tell each other they were fine, tell each other everyone in Hollywood did this, tell each other the lies addicts tell to keep going. But now Belushi was dead, and Robin was standing in his bedroom, staring at his pregnant wife, realizing with crystal clarity, "I'm next. If I don't stop, I'm next." The funeral was 3 days later, March 8th, 1982. Abel's Hill Cemetery, Martha's Vineyard, cold, gray, raining. Robin stood next to Valerie, his arm around her swollen belly, watching them lower John Belushi's casket into the ground. The entire SNL cast was there. Dan Aykroyd, Bill Murray, Gilda Radner, everyone crying, everyone in shock. Belushi had been the heart of Saturday Night Live, the wild one, the fearless one. And now he was dead at 33. Robin kept his head down. He was wearing sunglasses even though it was overcast because his eyes were red from crying and from 3 days of barely sleeping. The guilt was eating him alive. He'd been there. He'd left. He'd done nothing. And now his friend was in a box in the ground. That's when he saw him, A little boy, maybe 7 years old, standing with Belushi's family. He had dark hair, Belushi's eyes, and he was holding something. A piece of cardboard, white poster board with black marker. The kid was shaking, crying, holding up this sign like he was at a protest. Robin squinted to read it. The words hit him like a punch to the chest. "Uncle Robin, please don't die too!" Time stopped. Robin stared at that sign, at this little boy who just lost his uncle to drugs and was now begging another comedian, another addict, another person he loved, not to follow the same path. The boy's mother tried to pull him back, embarrassed, but the kid kept holding the sign higher. He wanted Robin to see it. He needed Robin to see it. Robin looked at that sign. Then he looked at Valerie standing next to him, 8 months pregnant with their first child, tears streaming down her face. Then he looked back at Belushi's casket, and something broke inside him. Or maybe something finally clicked into place. A clarity he hadn't felt in years cut through the fog of grief and cocaine residue and exhaustion. He was going to be a father in 3 weeks. He was holding cocaine in his jacket pocket right now at a funeral. His best friend had just died doing exactly what Robin was doing, and a 7-year-old boy was begging him not to be next. Robin Williams made a decision in that moment, not a plan, not a goal, a decision. He was done right there that day. No tomorrow, no I'll taper off, no rehab center or intervention or 12-step program, just done. After the funeral, Robin drove Valerie home in complete silence. She kept asking if he was okay. He kept saying he was fine, but he wasn't fine. He was making calculations. He had cocaine at home. He knew where his stash was, and he knew what he had to do with it. When they got home, Robin went straight to the bathroom. He found his cocaine, all of it. The vial in his jacket, the bag in the medicine cabinet, the emergency stash in his sock drawer. He'd spent thousands of dollars on this stuff, and he flushed it all down the toilet, every gram. Then he stood there, staring at himself in the mirror, shaking, knowing what was coming next. Cocaine withdrawal isn't like in the movies. It doesn't kill you, not physically, but psychologically. It's a nightmare. Your brain has been running on artificial energy for years, and suddenly you cut off the supply. The crash is immediate and brutal. Day 1. Robin felt okay, almost good, righteous. He'd made a decision. He was done. He was going to be a father. He was going to live. Day 2. The exhaustion hit. Not normal, tired, the kind of tired where your bones feel like lead, where standing up feels impossible. Robin slept for 16 hours and woke up feeling like he'd been hit by a truck. His body was screaming for cocaine, just one line, just to take the edge off, just to feel normal. He white-knuckled through it. Day 3. The depression started. This is what cocaine withdrawal really does. Your brain's dopamine system has been hijacked for years. Without the drug, you can't feel pleasure. Not from food, not from music, not from anything. Robin lay on the couch, staring at the ceiling, feeling nothing, wanting nothing except cocaine. Valerie brought him food. He couldn't eat. She tried to talk to him. He couldn't respond. He was trapped inside his own head. Day 4. The paranoia kicked in. Robin became convinced the police were going to arrest him for Belushi's death. He'd been there. They'd ask questions. They'd find out he'd been using. He'd lose everything, his career, his wife, his unborn child. The thoughts spiraled. He couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Just paced the house at 3 a.m. convinced his life was over. Day 5. Valerie found him sitting on the bathroom floor at 4 a.m., crying, shaking, saying he couldn't do this. She held him. She didn't know about the cocaine, not the full extent, but she knew he was fighting something. "What do you need?" she asked. "What can I do?" "Just don't leave me," Robin whispered. "Please don't leave me." Week 2. The physical symptoms started fading, but the psychological ones got worse. Robin's entire identity had been built on performing, on being funny, on making people laugh. And cocaine had been the fuel for that engine. Without it, he felt like a fraud, like he'd never been funny at all, like every laugh he'd ever gotten was just cocaine talking. He'd sit at home, avoiding phone calls from his agent, his manager, everyone asking when he'd be back on stage. He didn't know if he'd ever be funny again. Week 3, March 25th, 1982. Valerie went into labor. Robin drove her to the hospital, still feeling like he was moving through fog, still craving cocaine every moment, but holding it together because he had to, because his wife needed him, because his child was coming. Zachary Pym Williams was born at 6:47 a.m., 7 pounds 3 ounces, perfect, healthy, screaming his head off. And when they put that baby in Robin's arms, something happened. He looked at his son's face, red and scrunched and furious at being born, and for the first time in 3 weeks, Robin felt something other than emptiness. He felt terror, absolute, overwhelming terror, because now it wasn't just about him. It wasn't about his career or his addiction or his guilt over Belushi. It was about this tiny human who was depending on him to be alive, to be present, to be a father. And Robin Williams, standing in that hospital room holding his newborn son, made a promise. I'm going to be here. I'm going to watch you grow up. I'm not going to be another dead comedian. The first year of sobriety was hell. Robin took fewer gigs, he turned down roles, he stayed home with Valerie and Zachary and just tried to learn how to be funny without cocaine. Some nights he'd perform at small clubs and bomb completely. His timing was off. His energy was different. Audiences would leave disappointed. Robin Williams wasn't funny anymore. What happened to Mork? But slowly, painfully, he found a new rhythm, a sober rhythm. His performances became deeper, more thoughtful, less manic energy, more emotional truth. In 1987, 5 years after Belushi's death, Robin starred in Good Morning, Vietnam. It was his first major dramatic role. Critics called it a revelation. He got his first Oscar nomination. 2 years later, Dead Poets Society. Another nomination, 1991, The Fisher King. Another nomination. And finally, in 1997, Good Will Hunting. He won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. None of those films would have existed if Robin Williams had died in 1982. None of those performances, none of that growth. The world would have lost 32 years of Robin Williams because he couldn't stop doing cocaine. But a 7-year-old boy at a funeral held up a sign, and Robin looked at his pregnant wife, and he made a choice that saved his life. Here's what Robin Williams said about that period in a 1988 interview. Cocaine was my way of keeping up with the world's expectations. Everyone wanted me to be on all the time, and cocaine let me be on 24 hours a day until my friend died, and I realized being on doesn't matter if you're not alive to do it. In 2006, Robin relapsed. He started drinking again after 20 years of sobriety. He checked himself into rehab in Oregon and stayed for 30 days. When he came out, he gave an interview about Belushi, about that funeral, about the little boy with the sign. I think about that kid all the time, Robin said. He saved my life. He didn't know it, but he did. Every time I want to use, I see that sign. Uncle Robin, please don't die too, and I remember. I made a promise. To Belushi, to my son, to myself. I'm still here because of that promise. But depression and addiction are diseases that never fully go away. They wait. They lurk. And in 2014, when Robin Williams was diagnosed with Lewy body dementia and his mind started betraying him in ways cocaine never could, the demons came back. Not the addiction, but the darkness, the feeling that he was broken, that he couldn't perform anymore, that he'd lost the thing that made him matter. On August 11th, 2014, Robin Williams took his own life. He was 63 years old. The world mourned the loss of a comedic genius. But what many people didn't know was this. Robin had given the world 32 extra years. Years he never should have had. Years that produced some of the greatest performances in film history. Years that inspired millions of people. Years he stole back from cocaine because a 7-year-old boy at a funeral held up a sign and reminded him that people loved him enough to beg him not to die. At Robin's memorial service in 2014, Dan Aykroyd, Belushi's best friend and partner, spoke. He told a story nobody had heard before. In 1982, right after Belushi died, Robin had called him, middle of the night, crying, saying he was done with cocaine, saying he couldn't do it anymore, and Aykroyd had said, good, because John would want you to live. He'd want you to be here. Don't waste the time he didn't get. And Robin didn't waste it, despite his demons, despite his depression, despite everything that eventually took him from us. Robin Williams fought for 32 years to be present, to be alive, to be a father to his children, to make people laugh, to make people feel less alone. The Christopher and Dana Reeve Foundation isn't the only legacy Robin left. There's also this: thousands of people in recovery who credit Robin's story with saving their lives. People who were using cocaine, who saw Robin's honesty about his addiction, who heard about the funeral and the sign and the decision, and thought, if Robin Williams can quit cold turkey, maybe I can too. Today, Zachary Williams, the baby born 3 weeks after Belushi's funeral, is 42 years old. He works as a producer, he has his own family, and in interviews he said this about his father: "My dad chose to live so I could exist. Every moment I had with him was a gift he fought for. People remember him for being funny. I remember him for being brave." If this story about addiction, fatherhood, and the power of one choice moved you, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. Share this with someone who's fighting their own battle and needs to know that change is possible, even in your darkest moment. Have you ever made a decision that saved your life? Tell us in the comments. And don't forget to ring that notification bell for more true stories about the moments that define us, the choices that save us, and the courage it takes to keep living when everything in you wants to quit.